Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you are. And today, my name is Fred Amrine, and welcome to EFC PLUS, Making a Better College Decision. Today, we have various people from across the country. Some are college financial plan, some are college planners, and some are actually some high schools that also have joined us to get a view of the new EFC PLUS system. So let's get going. Just a quick overview of who I am. I'm a NAFTA member, fee-only financial planner with a special expertise in the whole college funding financial aid process. We don't sell any financial products, but I cover from how to save, the financial aid process, to student loan forgiveness and repayment. We're excited about the new EFC Plus software. We've gotten some rave reviews at the HECA conference and different colleges we presented it to. So we're very excited. We've actually have a few high schools that have just started on board that are using it both at a private school level and also at a public school level. I also have a book. That's a picture of the cover there. And I'm also a board member for the National College Advocacy Group. So really excited about bringing this new way to approach college funding. We bring the personal financial expertise to the financial aid process, which the financial aid directors aren't able to do in today's environment. So what are we going to do? One, we're going to look at this new approach. We actually are going to use a subset of the HECA presentation we used that I did with Mary Harkins, but we're going to go into a lot more detail on the calculations that were part of that presentation. So we'll see that there. And then also review the outcome, what we're trying to do with the software, how it will help your families make better decisions and avoid a lot of the debt issues that many are facing. And then how's the program going to work for you in your practice? What are we going to deliver for you? How's the tool work? It is a very different approach in my eyes than most of the products that are available to you today. So what makes it different? One, I think it's a customized solution. So it is a client system in the sense that the client has control of who has what access, who has what information. They can put in their information. Our pilot group this year averaged about 15 to 20 minutes to go, 20 minutes to about a half hour, 40 minutes to go through the input. But then after that, it's really just picking the schools and then being able to focus on the more important things, such as the fit for the school, the academic profile of the school, the social parts. We've taken all the calculations and put them in one place. So I really think it will help families make better decisions. Again, we're trying to get them to focus on the outcome. We do the 4-year cash flow. So that makes it very different. So if they have a second child coming in on board or an older child that's going to graduate, the award letters are only given the students 1 year at a time. This gives you a better planning tool than currently exists. I think it's fairly easy to use. That's been the major compliment we've had, is that the way we've structured it, it makes it very easy to understand and use as you go through the process. And it is different in the sense that most of the tools out there are advisor based. There are a few other tools out there that we'll talk about later on, but it is a client focused system in the sense that you either purchase it or give your client access to purchase it, and they control the information as far as that. There is no college list build. You actually have to help them build their list, but they can search the software or find the different schools they're looking for. They don't need to come back to you and ask what school, what do you think about this school, or you have to run additional reports. As I said, it is a comprehensive view. One of the things that we haven't announced yet, or that we've told a few people, is that there's actually a second part to this system that will carry the student through college. So our whole focus is on having a favorable outcome of the college experience. So what are the things that have changed? I think a big change is parents are starting to have a return on investment or a return on the education. So they're looking at the outcome. What's it going to cost? I think more and more students need to take a future look, because more and more careers require postgraduate degrees. So what do they look like at 25? We often talk about that with our clients. How do we get to where you want to go? All those type of things. There seems to be a growing dissatisfaction with the results of an education. So we've seen the Wall Street issues that were out there, but there is a growing number of students that are dissatisfied with the decisions or choices they've made for a variety of reasons. And I think that's because of the debt issues that are growing. I think we've also seen a big change in how admissions works and how the impact of enrollment management will put this all in perspective. And again, we have the matrix this year. You'll see that as we go through the system. And I think a big issue also that our students or children are facing, I've just put 3 through, is that our children are competing in many cases in a global economy. So more and more things are being outsourced, and it's just not the manufacturing jobs. It's some of the professional jobs such as accounting and even the medical field. There's more and more of those jobs because of the ability to communicate and the internet. It makes it a lot easier. And then, as everyone's seeing, as the cost and debt is rising, is a bigger issue for many families. When you look at this, I think you need to look at, to make the best college decision and financial decision, it needs to include the academic and majors. How good is the school in those specific things that your child or student's looking at? The social environment, is it going to be a good place they feel comfortable in, that they fit in, that they enjoy the social aspects of the school? And then the financial side. So it's probably a big weakness in the whole process, and it's gotten so expensive for many families and so complex. The financial aid directors can't answer all the questions. We just had a client the other day who had gone to a school, and he got appointed to 2 financial aid directors, and the information he received was inappropriate, or it didn't maximize his potential because they couldn't answer all the questions he was looking for. So these are the type of things that you need to take it to the next level, and we hope the combination of our tool and the webinars, and if you need to take it a step further, you can get the professional services that you're looking for. I think the biggest thing that I'm trying to improve upon is the list building as part of this process. I think there's a lot of money that's wasted that parents spend that they don't really need to, because of the way the process is built. So the schools market to the students and families, oh, you need to apply and we have plenty of financial aid. And that helps them from their selectivity. They work off the law of large numbers. It improves their ratings in the different rating systems. And it allows them to, select the cream of the crop, because they're going to have more and more students applying. It is difficult for them. They do have to create basically a new team each year. If that was a business, that would be really hard to do. And it is the combination of what the school is trying to create demographically within the class. How many first generations, how many people from each state, how many different religious backgrounds, the different, majors they're all looking for, and combine that with the financials that deliver the revenue stream they need to stay open. So everyone thinks they just have all this money. They do present a vision of them having a lot of money. In a lot of cases, that is not true. I think probably the biggest change that's happened over the last 10 years, 15 years is the development or the involvement of enrollment management, how that's evolved over the last few years. As we just saw, how simplified they've made the process as you need to apply and we have plenty of financial aid, to how sophisticated the models are. We presented it to Temple University here, and they actually sliced and diced the students into 61 categories to distribute some scholarship money. Another school I know has over 300 boxes in their enrollment management group. So the students are being sliced and diced in a lot of ways that's not presented to them, yet all they hear is you need to apply, we have plenty of financial aid, which then, people are just basically in a lottery system. Enrollment management is where we'll see how that works with admissions and financial aid as it goes together. And I think another big change that's happening because of this is the perception of scholarships versus what's really happening, and the schools are operating on an average net price or average net revenue per student. So the students, and you get the award letters that says scholarships and things like that, which make the parents feel good, and the student gets some self-gratification there. But in reality, the schools behind the scenes are really working on an average revenue per student, and it's really just a discount. So you need to be aware of that. That's the change that's happening. It's my personal view that there's no school that's need blind. On the admission side, why they say that is because they don't see the financial side, and it doesn't get to that decision or the money the student may need until it hits the financial aid office or the enrollment management office. So the admissions are saying, yeah, we're need blind, and they do admit the student, but that doesn't mean that the school will be affordable. So that's how they can make that statement in a lot of cases. And again, the impact of selectivity is becoming more and more important, and there's a lot of pressure coming from the government because of the federal programs, in the sense that your ability to pay is going to become more and more important. We had a few clients this year that we actually talked about using the higher EFC to improve our chances of admissions, because they are looking at, a few years ago we were looking where we're trying to pick the lowest EFC because we were hoping to get the most amount of money. In a lot of cases now, because the schools are under so much pressure, that they need to look at your ability to pay as part of their admission process. So you just need to be aware of that. These are changes that are out there that everyone needs to be more conscious of as you go through this best fit, best scenario for your clients. Just want to review a few quick things, highlights of the system, how it works. This is a scattergram. Most of you are probably familiar with Navient. This is not the Navient scattergram on your probability of being admitted. It's looking at GPA and your SAT scores. I think that's an important part, but the schools are really looking at a combination of things, not just this. Gives you a feel of what a stretch is and things like that for the students. What's really going on behind the scenes is this. Everyone's familiar with the academic reach of a school. So the horizontal line here that we see admission strength off the y-axis would be similar to your scattergram of a student. So that's your vertical, the vertical up and down y-axis, and the horizontal line. In this case, the blue dot is the student. This will be custom to each student. So the blue dot in this case is above the academic strength of the school. This doesn't include, essays and interviews and teacher recommendations. And I think this is where you as the college planner or guidance office can really help the student. If they're below that line and they have a certain skill or special skill that's going to raise them above that academic level that the student's looking or this college is looking for, this is where you can really point this out, where this, again, graphically shows you the numbers, where I think there's some other systems that say, highly probable or whatever. This way you can really see this. It doesn't include, this is all unweighted numbers. It does not include the weighting that schools may apply in this situation. The next part of this is kind of, I think, what's more important, at least in my perspective and what we try to do for our clients and the people we serve, is not many people are familiar with the financial reach of a school. So we saw this a lot in our pilot group this year, but everyone, because of the way the schools market their situations, the horizontal line there, or sorry, excuse me, the vertical line there is the average package at that school. So in this case, the blue dot is this student. They have what I would call as a financial reach because they're beyond the average package of that school. They're closer to about $18,000 or $19,000, where the average package at this school is $16,000. Now they are above the academic strength of that school. The school may come back with this situation or meet their needs. So this again is an important part. When we did this on the award letter side, we were working off the percents of need, and this takes it to the next level. Percent of need and what is gift aid, you would get a much higher number as what you think you're going to get. And then when we got the award letters, the schools came back with the average package, which was very different from when we worked the numbers off the percentages. So this gives you another perspective. If you're in the red area, especially lower in the red area, and your distance from the vertical line there, you really need to question, should we apply, in my eyes, because it's costing anywhere from $50 to $100 per school to apply. Is it really worth filling that application if you're not going to get the money you need to attend? You may get in, but again, you may not get the money you need to make it affordable. So that's an important part, and this is what we're trying to point out to the parents and students as they start creating their list, and also explains why you may not get the package that you need. When we showed this to a few of the colleges that in their enrollment management offices, they liked this because it gave them transparency, and it really explained, off the percentages it didn't work, but this is our average package, and it gave the parents some justification of what they should have expected. The next part of it is the 4-year cash flow. This is what makes, I think, our system so much better, in the sense we are doing a 4-year view. So in this case, the student changes schools, or sorry, there's a second child that comes on board. That's why the award letter goes up those third and fourth years. Again, we're trying to break out the packages, and you really need to look at a combination of the enrollment management matrix, what you can expect from a financial reward standpoint, how much the school meets of gift aid, how much of it's self-help, what's the financial gap at that school. And then the next part, I think, is even more important, is the cash flow. So this is what, is just the unique part about EFC Plus, is, you may have parents in very similar EFCs with very different financial conditions and their ability to pay. Some parents have saved a lot of money. Maybe some parents have a higher income. Again, how their EFC number comes together is very, very different. But now what can they afford to send their child here, and how much debt will that child have at each school based on their financial aid award and what the school's gifting policy is. So this is a big change for many of the parents, and you can see the financial outcome and the financial commitment you need to make to attend that school. Again, having the 4 years and change that. We're not going to see it in the test case. I just want to also point out one thing in this situation. And here's where, see how the first year is lower than the second year. And this is the advantage of doing the 4 years. In this case, the system is pointing out that the school has front-loaded the award. You need to go back, the parents need to go back and ask the school, if the EFC number is not going to be changing, and in this case it wasn't, am I going to get the same type of award in the outer years? Some schools will front-load the awards, making them more attractive, and then you don't get as a nice a package in the outer years. If your EFC number is the same over the 4 years, then those numbers should be relatively flat. So that's an important part. You just be aware that the system does that. In our case study, we will not see that situation. So I just wanted to point it out because it was an important part that we saw in the presentation of the case. I'm going to now jump over to the case study. So that's just the highlights of what we're trying to do. And here's the case that we presented at the HECA conference. It's pretty broad, but I just want to make sure everyone's aware of it. So this was a Pennsylvania student, married couple, 2 children. It was a Caucasian male. We're not going to get into that detail. Came from a strong public school. ACT score was 29. His unweighted GPA was 3.7. He had some interest in anthropology, and music was a key important part. And the mother was really, fighting for more money. She wanted a lot of scholarship money for her child. So it just gives you an overview. And we don't create college lists here at EFC Plus. But when you see the list, you can understand that if you're not a Pennsylvania person, or at least the Northeast, that some of the schools may not make sense. But this was an actual case. We did modify some of the numbers for the presentation. So I'm going to jump over to our actual system here. And this is the EFC Plus system. This is what it would look like when you first came in. I'm just going to skim through the data input. We have the information already loaded into the system. This was the test case, and hopefully you'll be able to see how we go through this. One, as I talked about this case, all this would have been blank if you were to start from 0. The check marks would not be there. And here we've started to use a few things just for your information. One, you don't need to put any confidential information in. Here we have birth dates. You notice we don't have the actual birth dates. This would be also with the parents. You do need it for the calculation, but because of security, we've just assumed the first of the month to keep the identity as secret as possible. As you see here, we're starting to work through the input here. It's fairly easy to do. You can put in your different test things. You'll need that to do the GPA, the matrix. And again, some schools do not have that. Another important part here is the information on the family. So here we can see the second child's coming on board. This is an important part for the 4-year cash flow when you have multiple children coming on. And it's also important is that this is just the other family member. So we have the first student here. You do not put in the child that you're analyzing. So the first page is the child you're analyzing. The second page is any other students that are involved with the family. This does a few things. It creates a timeline and other things here. And we're also looking at the other information for the FAFSA answer key and the profile. The fourth step, it's really only 8 steps. It takes about 25 to 35 minutes to complete. But here's where we start adding in the schools. Here you can see we have actually added the budget amount. So we're looking at what the parents already have saved and how much can they afford per year. So that's an important part as we go through the process. And you can modify these at any point in time as you go through the process and once you see your schools. Then you just either can type in your name of the college or the city that it's located in, and it'll give you a list. And you just need to click the list here, and the list will start to build on the bottom. You can have up to 20 schools in the system at any given time. and you can add and subtract them. So that's the amount there. Because we have award letters and this family is already completed, typically in this process, all the schools would have the red check marks next to it. Again, this allows you to add and subtract the schools. It gives you the information also of what the school meets the need, how much of it's gift aid. Our data sources primarily are the school websites themselves, Wintergreen Orchard, and also the iPads data. So we're doing a data cleanse. Our goal is to have the best data out there. And over time, once we get some traction, because we will be collecting the award letters from the schools as the students get those, our information will become better and better. So that's the advantage we do have, since we do have the award letter part of the system. Just going to jump forward. The rest of the information is fairly easy to do. As I said, we've gotten some comments and feedbacks here. Here's where we put in the W-2 information. This family, their adjusted gross income, or their total income, is about $130,000. We're looking at also they contribute $5,000 into their 401k, which will have an impact. And then here's the assets as what will be included for the federal methodology. So again, here's the different parts here that you may want to look through. Again, these are all the impacts of the federal methodology. I think another major advantage we have in the system is the complications of the tax form. The FAFSA system has tried to minimize the number of inputs, but to put the input in correctly, you need to read all the detail and figure out what line it is. What we've done is just bring in the different tax forms that are available there. And here, it's a 1040. So they just need to know line 7, line 12, line 14, whatever numbers they have, they just need to do the data entry. And then we figure out what lines they need to complete the form. So we have a FAFSA answer key and a profile answer key. Again, sometimes we'll run into problems like this past year. The tax forms changed later in the year due to the new healthcare credits. And then the last part here we have is the different information we need for the CSS profile. So here's the house value, retirement accounts. This again is information we'll need for the CSS profile. And then the last part is we just do a summary of your input. And there is an important part here because we do the for your cash flow and we're also doing your debt structure. You get a preliminary EFC number of how that looks. But if you scroll down here, you can see we have student, private loans, and home equity. You can customize those numbers for the client, or the client can put in their own numbers once they know their rates. So this allows them to, if they know they're going to do a private loan, they go out and get their FICO score and see what it's going to be. They actually can put in their actual rate in there. That could be higher or lower than the numbers that are there. Or if they're going to do a home equity, they actually can put in the numbers there, and we will include that. One important part too, though, once you put in the information, you have to agree to the license. At that point in time, the demographics of the family get locked. You can change the financial information, but you cannot change, the students. And this is our protection, that it is a single user license. So in this case, we're going to hit calculate. And then this is going to bring us to the college analysis tool. So this is all pre-award letter. This is how I build my list. It's going to put our colleges out there that we've selected. I'm going to bring you up to the EFC calculation. There's a few things that are important here. So here is the EFC calculation. We do both calculations. What's unique about this is we're doing the for your quadrants. Everyone thinks the EFC number is one number. It actually is 4 separate numbers that most people are unaware of. And this gets into how you create your strategies. Should I move assets out of my child's name? All of those type of things. That question comes up a lot. And in this case, if the family looking at schools over 39,200, then the EFC number or the assets in the student's name should be moved. In most cases, you have to look at the tax consequences and a few other things, but in this case, it would have some impact on the EFC or financial aid that student would qualify for. Our actual numbers this year, we take the actual code and test it. We were within $5 when the numbers were exactly the same in our EFC calculation for the federal methodology. Now we're also doing the institutional methodology. That will vary school to school, so we do the best we can within estimates, and we do some checking against that to see if we're within reason. But again, that will vary by school. We do the best we can in that situation. And I think the last part here is the timeline, so that we remember we entered in the different data. We're looking for the overlaps of there where the forward cash flow is going to have an impact, but also for the parents to see when they'll be finished paying for college and the recovery time for retirement. So understand their financial commitment. Then we're going to go back to the college list here. So again, here's where they can build a list. We don't do any pre-screening or qualifications of a school. This really needs to come from either the parents themselves, from the college planner themselves, or from the high school themselves. So again, we're not trying to pick the schools for the students. There's too much subjectivity in that decision, looking at majors and the environment. So that's all really up to the student. They go to a cocktail party, oh, you should look at this school. Again, they can add and subtract them as they wish. We're not trying to create a list for them. As I said, typically you would have all X's there, but because we have award letters, those X's do not appear. And then this just goes through things. Another thing that's out there too is we have the 2-page Wintergreen Orchard report. So there's the 2-page report that is available there right at the client's fingertips, and they can go and read through that. It's all available to them. It's things that you don't have to provide for them. So here we are. Now we're going to look at, I'm going to use Juniata as the college we're going to look at. So a few things here. One, here's just some general information of what the school looks like and what the projected debt will be based on their finances. Looking at demographics of the school, so graduation rates, what the admissions, enrollment, retention, all things that are very, very important. And then what the school meets of need. Now we're going to move down to the enrollment management matrix. So here we're going to be looking at this student is above the academic strength of the school. Their financial aid position, if you remember, their EFC number was 43 and 49. It is a profile school. And so here we're looking at what the average package is 31,000. So they're actually under the award package. This would probably be an attractive school to apply to. All right, again, this will be unique to every school of the student. There's a 3-page or 3-screen analysis. The scholarship report will be changing. We're making some modifications here. And this is just some other demographic information regarding the school. Then we move to the cash flow part of the system. Here, the first top part is what the financial award letter should look like at each of the schools using the school's past history. Again, this is not where you have to go out to each net price calculator. You're going to enter that information in once and just select school. So that will save the clients a significant amount of time and frustrations because each one's different. It creates a consistent format for them to really look at the school side by side. But we can see a few things that happen here. One, we have that second child coming in, that third and fourth year. This will help them make a better value decision because their EFC number will change in those outer years of where they may qualify for aid, where if we're just looking at 1-year views, that information was not identified. And this school meets 86% of need, of which 81% is gift aid, 20% or 19% will be self-help. And then if there's a financial gap, and you can see what that financial gap is. So this helps us identify what the projected award letter is going to look like. Now we come down to where this family had $20,000, $25,000 saved for school. They could afford $10,000 per year. And now we're projecting what that school is going to look like. What are the additional amount of resources we're going to need to attend this university? So here you can see we're going to need about $76,000 to attend this school in addition to our current budget. Now this again is a projection. They could be borrowing that money. They could maybe commit a higher amount on their budget. And what's not included in this part of the analysis is the merit money that the student may receive. This is all need driven. And that's where the matrix also will help you identify where that student may get the merit money if it's a need situation as part of this. But the next part of this, we've now identified the debt, or if we are going to finance the entire amount to attend this school. And now we're going to look at how the debt needs to be structured and what that monthly payment's going to be. So one, there's the Stafford loan limits per year. Here's the cash flow that shows you the $76,000 that we identified on the prior screen. There's the monthly payment for the Stafford loan. We'll be changing that rate to reflect the new rates probably tomorrow or the next day. And then here's what the Parent Plus loan. We can do a Parent Plus loan. These are the 3 most common. I could maybe do a home equity. As you can see, that's the home equity percent that we used in the prior screen in the input section. And then we have the alternative private loan. So these are rates that we can change or based on our current situation. Now you can see that's what the graduation number will be. When we talk to some of the financial aid directors, what we've also identified is when parents will borrow that money freshman, sophomore year, and they get to junior and senior year, it becomes pretty expensive. So in this case, as an example, the parents did a Parent Plus loan. They had committed $10,000 per year as a cash flow. But if you notice, by junior year, if they don't defer it, which some families do, they'll be paying $514 per month, which is another $6,000. So out of pocket, they'll be paying close to $16,000 a year in tuition in their budget. So this again identifies those numbers. Again, they can defer it, and it can make that number more expensive, but it just gives you a feel of what's happening. So this is done per school. And again, you can change schools pretty easily in your analysis, or the client can. So let's just compare something like University of Pitt. And it'll go right to that school and start it all over. So as you remember, our Juniata dot was about here, and now at Pitt, we're no need at all. Okay, as you can see here, we have zero need in the chart here, but we are above the academic strength of that student. So this gives you a good feel. I think once the college advisors and guidance counselors see this, they can really help the student make their list better, or focus on the things that are going to make them move up and down the y-axis. So on the y-axis, I think you have a lot more movement. You can improve their SAT scores or ACT scores. Maybe there's some activities, or their essay or something's going to really help them move up and down that line substantially. Where on the x-axis, the parent's financial situation is not going to change that much on the admission view, unless parent loses a job or there's an inheritance or something happens. That will not change that much. But this gives you an idea of showing how the student can become more attractive and how much work it's going to be, understanding both the financial and academic reaches. So this was all pre-college award. How do we make the analysis? So now we're going to move to the next section, and this is what makes it very different, is now comes April 1st. So now we've submitted our essays. Again, as I said, there's a FAFSA answer key. There's a CSS profile key. They're not listed here. They'll be under the resource section that you also be part of the system, and we won't release them until all the tax forms and we get the new forms under both of those processes available. But here's the really interesting part. When we get the award letters, you actually key the award letters in, and the system will sort them by the most affordable school. So in this case, Juniata, because of the scholarship the student will receive, became the lowest cost school. Doesn't mean it's the best school. It just means it's the lowest net projected cost. So here we're looking at $134,000 versus Pitt. It's at $135,000. So it's basically the same number. But again, you're looking at very, very different schools on what the net cost is going to be as far as class size and campus and environment. So again, you need to really look at this, and this is why you do this. The numbers are there. They can really focus on the subjective things that are important to them in their decision process. But the layout is very, very similar, except for one major change. So we're going to go back and use Juniata as the example. And here, this is what you're going to have to input your award letter. So when we come into the system will look like this. This is if this was blank. This column here is last year's cost of attendance, especially for the state schools. A lot of the state school information is not available. So you can build your own custom cost of attendance here, and then you start inputting your award letters. We break the award letter into some significant detail. So this is a college scholarship that's going to be reoccurring. Assume that the student makes the GPA each year or whatever they need to do. Then another merit scholarship that would be reoccurring, and then a merit scholarship that's just a one and done. So that makes it very different. Then it's need-based scholarships or grants that are there. Again, this is important that the parents identify this, because this will impact the outer calculations of the four-year cash flow. If it's a merit scholarship, especially if you have a non-need-based family, that's going to be reflective on your net cost over the 4 years. Where if you just did a scholarship, it's not going to be reflective as that goes out because of stacking and other things that may happen. As you go through down here, we break out the Stafford loans. In this case, because of the scholarship, the student will only get a unsubsidized Stafford loan. And then we see the total award. We then hit update. And this will then calculate or regenerate those three screens we just saw. Now, the biggest change that we've done is, and this is based on feedback, parents wanted to get to the bottom line as soon as they could. So if you remember Juniata, when we first looked at this, it was $76,000 worth of debt or additional resources. And now because of the scholarships that this student received and the input of the college planner, their net cost or their additional cost is only going to be about $42,000. So this made this school much more attractive. Again, the college planner was aware that this school was going to give this child significant money because of their academic abilities and the type of student they were and the fit for the school. So again, this is where we start looking into the numbers. We put this on the front because the pilot group was very interesting as we went through the process last year, is once we got to the award letter, parents wanted to get to the bottom line right away. So they put in the award letters, they hit calculate, and we showed them what the real numbers were. And then as they put that information in, we go back to the summary page. We'll come back to that in a second. But here, as you can see here, we're working through this, and the layout's exactly the same as it was, very consistent. We're going to do the cash flows. And now it shows you there's the new cash flow is how the EFC is. We're going to handle the scholarship, that merged scholarship, that it's not stacked. Many people are unaware of how that will work. And then you can see, this is the prior screen we just saw a second ago. There's the 42. And now if we're going to finance the entire amount, you can see that, this is what our new number looks like and what our monthly payment is going to be. I think the number, it's cut in half. It was, I think, $800 and some a month versus $4 something. So you can see how different and how, comprehensive our analysis is, and parents can better plan for this. Again, this is the award part of the system that you're looking at. And then if you go back to, evaluating what your numbers will look like, you now can start focusing on the best fit. So, what does Juniata versus Pitt do? How does that work versus Washington College? In the case that we presented at the HECA conference, they narrowed it down to the 3 top schools there. So it was Juniata, Pitt, and Washington College. And we'll show that in a second of what the results were. But this is the type of analysis. So we've now walked through, understand our EFC, creating our list, where we're going to apply to, and now we've narrowed our list and what's the best fit based on the deal or the award package that we've received at each of these schools. And it gives you a complete view of the process. And as I said to you, the next part of this system that we hope to have by the end of this year will be actually tracking the students' progress as they go through college and refining the debt structure and the different loan repayment options. There's actually 8, there'll be 9 actually by January, 9 different loan repayment options that will be available for these students to go through this. Just 1 or 2 other quick things. As you see how easy it is, but also there's a help screen on each page that you now can put in. It does 2 things. One, it will help the parents or the input person understand what they're doing and also why they're doing it. It's about 1 minute to 2 minutes, depending on the screen, of what they're trying to do on each of those screens that they go through that. So hopefully that will make this dependency on the college planner, the guidance office. And also we're building some additional tutorials to explain some of the other more complicated issues, such as the matrix and some of the cash flows that will be an additional to these short videos. We're just trying to help them get through the input as you go through this. So that is the system of EFC Plus. Again, hopefully you understand how this is going to work and how this can help your practice. Let me jump back to the rest of the presentation and explain to you what has happened, or what did happen. As I said to you, this is what happened. The client met with the college planner, who was Mary Harkins. They looked at the different schools they're considering and looked at retention. So it's just not the numbers. I think there's a lot of fit issues that parents need to look at. You look at retention. If they don't stay in the school or they don't graduate on time, that can be an expensive mistake in my eyes. So here you're seeing the 4 costs. It was very interesting in this case. Again, it was Mary Harkins' client, that the mother was really looking at lowest cost, and at the end of the day, they actually selected Washington because it was a better fit for a variety of different reasons. But here's kind of the thought process and issues that the college planner rose as they went through their discussions on which school was going to be the best fit for this student. as I said to you earlier, my whole goal here is to have a favorable outcome of the education, making a good decision, understanding the financial commitments, both current and future, understand how to structure the debt the best way is all part of the process that we're trying to deliver in a very user-friendly process. In addition to the system and the software you just saw, there'll be webinars as we go through that. Actually, they just got posted last night, so you can see this upcoming year's schedule. There's one almost every month on different topics. They will primarily be financial. So I fully respect and understand that I'm not an expert in the college area selection process. We do have Wow Writing doing one, and also Judd Appleroth doing one on SAT testing. But the majority of the presentations will be all financial, since I am not an expert in the college planning arena, just the financial side. So what are we doing here? We're pretty excited about the new program we've announced, doing it once and doing it right, because we really think, if you went out to each net price calculator, or you use some of the other products where you get ranges, you're not going to be able to get your answers to the FAFSA form. This is why we think you do the detail. As I said, it's about a half hour, 20-25 minutes is what the majority of parents saw. You put it in once, you kind of get your feel of what your numbers are going to be. It is, as I hopefully you've seen how comprehensive it is. We actually were at the PACAC meeting earlier. We had a person who used to work for Sallie Mae, and now she's working for College Board. She came over and reviewed the system, and she said there's nothing like it out there. And that's the same response we've had at the colleges, and most of them have said this is what parents should be doing to get through that. The other part is that we're really going to try to keep the advisors and the guidance counselors up to date. Our blog, we're probably blogging about twice a week with articles. And things like, when the FSA ID change happened, we have a 3-minute video on that to help your clients or parents through that process. If you haven't warned them about that, when they're signing their promissory notes coming up, they're going to need to have their FSA ID versus their PIN number. The PIN number is no longer valid. Other things, like we have the new rating system that's coming up. That's another thing. The change that just happened with the parents' allowance, that got smashed this year in the new calculation for the FAFSA form. So these are the things that we hopefully will keep you more up to date, so you don't get surprised by clients. Also, the way the system is developed as far as access, it allows this was kind of the feedback we got from the college planners that went through this process. Some don't want to see the financials, some do help them with it, or also can help the financial planners do the work. But again, you have access to, we're not going to cover that today, but how do you do that? The client actually gets the system, you give it to them, and then they give you access to the level they want to do that. It also, the feedback we received from our clients on the system was it helped the parents engage the student in the financial decision. So these are the type of things that we were looking for as we went through this. And our goal is to get through and make a better decision. Also, just as an FYI, as part of this process, we're revising the I'm getting a few notes here. Sorry, we're revising the EFC Plus website. Probably by the end of July. There's currently 25 videos up on the system. They're all about 2 to 3 minutes long, and they cover all the topics that most of the questions you'll get regarding financial aid. So again, if you have some expertise or knowledge, if you don't, it'll be a great resource for you, and it will cover from financial aid all the way to student loan repayment. So this is what we're going to do. And again, we'll be adding different topics, like when the FSA ID came up about, if there's some major things that happen. So, when the new rating system comes out, we'll probably do a video on that, just so people are more aware. And then we'll do a summary once a month. It'll probably be mid-month each month, and it'll start in July. So if you register, you'll get on that mailing list. Here, just as a summary of just a few things. One, we're going to have 2 major price points. One, it is an annual subscription. The optimal time is for your rising juniors to get in the system sometime in May or June, and it's $25 a head for the year. And you need to purchase, to get the $25, you need to purchase a minimum of 10 licenses. The licenses do not become active until they are turned on. So if you buy now, you only need 7 or 8 of them. The subscription doesn't start until once it's turned on. And then the next part is there's also another method. This the schools, the private schools. Some of the private schools are using that 25 head or the advisor. This would be a giveaway. We're seeing that happening at the high schools, more the private schools where they're looking at the private seniors and they're going to buy it for the whole class as part of their college prep program. And the public schools are using more as a fundraiser, to be honest. And then some advisors are looking to just say, I don't want to pay for it. It's not going to come off my current bill. And they just offer a discount. It'll be a 15% discount off the list price. It'll be about $42.50. And for the schools, if they use it as a fundraiser, we will give back $5 to whatever organization. So if it's the Parents Association or the Senior Prom or a Senior Trip, that will be doing it. There are also some advisors in some schools are using a combination of those programs. So they're giving it to their senior class and using it also as a fundraiser. So there's a few different ways that can happen. You'll need to give us a call so we can work through that. And then we have an added incentive. If you register and purchase 10 licenses, we will give you 2 free licenses. It's worth $100, but you have to purchase them before July 31st. So that's our launch incentive to do that. And hopefully you'll take advantage of that. And so what are your next steps? One, you have to register your firm or school on EFC Plus. Just go to the homepage, the bottom. You can do that. We will then get notification of that. We have a little bug in the system right now in the sense that we're the discount code, just leave it blank right now. And that way we'll process it and then we'll give you a call. What we're looking for there is you to establish the code that you're going to remember. So it could be a marketing tool for you, or it could be like a high school's logo or their mascot or something like that. We will then determine which program you're going to be listing out as far as the discount. So depending on which program you're going to be using. And then once we'll email you back that your code's been approved and your registration is ready to go. And that way you can either purchase it and you'll get instructions on how to do that depending on the program you've decided on selecting. So there's a bunch of questions. I'm going to run through these. Hopefully this has been helpful for you. Let me just see here if I can get the questions. Let's see here. I'm sorry. Does the EFC consider how each college calculates their home equity portion of the system? It does not at this point, so we haven't been able to do that part of it. I'm hoping over time that we will refine the institutional methodology as we get more and more data, and that we will improve that situation for you. Let me see here. I missed some of the questions here, and I'm having a tough time navigating through the other questions, and I apologize we can't see it. Help the average merit award along percents undergrad received and merit separated merit percents need met. You feel that this someone's asking the question of why you need to separate the merit versus the need-based scholarships. The reason why you need to do that is because if you have a second child coming on board and the award gets stacked, and the merit scholarship won't get stacked. So let me give you the example. If we have, let's use the example from Juniata. The student received $19,000 as a merit scholarship, and in years 3 and 4, they had a second child coming in. They then qualify for more need-based aid. In that case, if the merit portion of the percent need met and gift aid exceeded $19,000, then it would get added on to the $19,000. If it was under the $19,000, then the maximum value of the award, it wouldn't get stacked, it would be $19,000, and that 19 plus the percent. So we handle the stacking of the awards the right way. I'm not sure if everyone's aware of how that really happens, but just wanted to make sure that you understand that. And I apologize, we're having a tough time here on the on me scanning these questions, and I apologize, I'm not able to see prior questions. If you want to retype some of your questions in, if they were early, I apologize. Do you consider each calculates home equity? As I said, I answered that question. And I apologize, I went pretty quickly to show you some of the screens. We are videotaping or recording this, so if you want to come back and look at that. And I'm trying to get to where I can see the prior questions, and I'm having a tough time doing that. So if you want to type in other questions, the other questions that we've received during this process that were unique, I guess, was, the cash flow. How will that change? One of the examples, you have to remember, we're doing apples and apples. As an example, in my case, I have 3 that went through. My children were required to pay for their books and their personal living expenses. If you have that included in the cost of attendance, you need to add that in. So in this case, we had $10,000 per year. If the children were going to contribute to that, or that was their responsibility, they would say, okay, well, we're going to add that money in, and that's $13,000 in contribution. So you need to make sure as you go through the process that you're keeping things apples and apples, depending on how you're going to go through that cash flow discussion with the student. I think the other big thing is that we saw both on the front end, on creating the list, we saw where parents were able to reduce the number of schools they're applying to, but also on the back end when they got the awards, how they were able to engage the student on making the best decision financially. They could see the numbers. It was a third party set of numbers. And actually, we just, as part of our second product, we had a study done by Kellogg, and it was very interesting. Some of the feedback we got is how dependent the students are on the parents in this decision process, and also understanding the consequences or the debt at graduation. It's not really well known there, and that's the one problem. So let me see. Here's some other questions that we have. Seen the average award. I guess one of the questions also here is the average award. We haven't gotten to the merit numbers there. A big question or issue that's coming about right now is, and we're trying to look at this, and I did mention it earlier, is the average revenue per school. We're looking into trying to figure that out right now in the next year or so. But many of the schools are working off of an average revenue per student and not scholarships, or the perception is, you get the scholarships, that's what's on the award letter. But in reality, behind the scenes, I said, there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes that many people just don't know or understand or have no idea they're doing it. But they're really working on average revenue per student. And that's where you get some of the inconsistencies on the generalities. So, one year you may get a student that got $10,000, and you may have the same type of student that has better grades, and next year that student doesn't get the $10,000. There could be a variety of reasons why that happens. And some of it is their preferential treatment each year, or maybe that was the major one student picked. It could be a variety of things. What we're hoping to do is get a better idea through the award letter process and some of the other information that's out there, and identify that average net revenue per student. Indirectly, the average package gives that to you, so that gives you that view of financial reach. But just so you know, that's what we're trying to identify as you go through that, and hopefully, over time, with your help and your feedback, we'll get to that point. Let's see here. Hopeful. I think that's the only other questions. I'm just trying to see if there's any other things there. I know I was moving back and forth a little bit, so I apologize if the sound came in and out, and if the screens were a little blurry. That's me and the internet interface as far as your screens as I scroll through the screens. That's also the reasons why that happened. I think that's all that we have today. I don't know if there's any other questions. Give a last call here for questions. And our whole goal here over time is to provide the best calculator that's available to you. As I said, there will be a second part of this system that will help parents go through the process. And again, if you are a college planner and the financial aid process scares you, I'm not going to say this is a full outsource, but if you attended the HECA conference and how we really complement your service, we're not college planners. We're not trying to give you that, tell you what to do or how to do it. We're really just there to provide the extra information to make parents make a better decision, address the issues that most of the colleges can. So we're going to be talking about, 529 plans and talking about tax strategies that may be applicable for your clients, and just so they can see the net cost of the financial decision as they go through this, and what's it really going to cost them. So let me just see if there's a few more questions here. I think that's it. So if you have any questions, please give us a call. There's the phone number, 610-978-3100. Be happy to answer any questions. And then if you're going to register, just sign up, and then we'll get that and get back to you on the way your code's going to work. And have a great day. Thanks. Talk to you soon.